Hello, everyone. LYTUNA, a young mother, a woman who's walked through pain to find peace again beside the man she loves. And Alex, a man who once believed he could protect everything until he realized some storms don't come from the outside. They come from the very people you trust. The story begins after a rainstorm. At a small farm on the outskirts of the city, Alex comes home, but LYTUNA is nowhere to be found. He waits amid the wind, the rain, and a growing sense of fear tightening in his chest. Meanwhile, LYTUNA is on her way back, carrying a secret that could change them both forever. A meeting, a conversation as soft as a breeze, but sharp as a blade, and a truth waiting to surface, one that will test every promise and every bit of faith they've ever held. Why did LYTUNA choose to confront instead of walk away? What did she hear in that meeting? And will their love be strong enough to survive the storm ahead? Stay with me for today's story, when LYTUNA said, "I won't let her win." A new chapter of love, pride, and choices with no way back. The night fell slowly, like a sheet of wet silk draping over a tired city. In a small room on the third floor, a warm yellow light spilled across a wooden crib. LYTUNA sat there gently rocking it, her eyes fixed on the steady breaths of her baby boy, Henry, just 3 months old. Outside the window, rain tapped softly while the wind brushed against the thin curtain. The rhythm of the rain and the baby's heartbeat seemed to blend together, tender yet aching. Henry slept peacefully, his round little face still carrying the faint scent of milk. Every so often, his tiny hand would reach out and grab his mother's finger without realizing it. Each touch made LYTUNA's heart soften so much that it almost hurt. Since giving birth, she hadn't had a full night's sleep, but she never complained. As long as she could see her baby smile in his dreams, every worry melted away like the rain outside. Tonight, though, her heart wouldn't rest. The phone rang, suddenly cutting through the stillness. Startled, she quickly tucked the blanket around her son and hurried to the table. On the screen, an unknown number. LYTUNA hesitated. Her instincts as a mother made her more cautious than ever. But for some reason, she still answered. The voice on the other end made her freeze. Soft, calm, but cold enough to send a chill down her spine. "Ms. LYTUNA, I want to meet you. The same cafe as before. 7 p.m. tomorrow. We need to talk." Before she could respond, the call ended. Silence filled the room again, only the sound of rain and the steady ticking of the clock. She stood still, staring at the phone in her hand. She didn't need to think long. She knew that voice. The woman who had once walked out of Alex's life, but never really left his heart. The one who had hurt her with eyes sharp as blades and a smile full of pride. And now she wanted to meet again. LYTUNA sat back down by the crib, her mind swirling with thoughts. Henry was still asleep, his lips slightly pursed, his tiny hand moving gently in the air. She looked at him, brushed a lock of fine hair from his forehead, and felt her chest tighten. Should I go? What if something happens? Fear crept in, quiet but heavy like the darkness outside. Then she remembered Alex's voice from the night before. "I won't let anyone hurt you again, LYTUNA. I promise." That promise felt like a small light flickering in the storm. But deep down, She knew not every promise can protect you from everything. Sometimes a woman has to stand up for her own peace. She looked at her son again. Henry, so small and pure, the only piece of innocence left in a world full of deceit. For you, she whispered, I'll be strong, even if it's just me. Tuna stood up, pulled the curtain aside, and looked out at the rain blurring the city lights. The street lamps glowed through the drops, hazy like old memories that refused to fade. Outside, the city kept breathing weary and heavy. Inside, she held her baby close, carrying a decision that was growing inside her like a coming storm. Tomorrow, she would go. Not out of curiosity, not out of fear, but because she knew if she didn't face it, the past would keep chasing her, and the truth would slowly strangle the love she was fighting to protect. Somewhere in the distance, through the sound of rain, it felt like a faint laugh, echoed cold, deliberate, and full of intent. Maybe Mai was already waiting, and Tuna, once fragile, once afraid, was now ready to walk into the storm, armed with nothing but the strength that love and motherhood had given her. The next afternoon, the sky was thick and gray, like it had been dusted with ash. The last drops of rain slid down the metal roof, catching the pale light of a city just waking up after a stormy night. Tuna walked into the same cafe as before. Everything looked exactly the same. The rich scent of coffee, the soft hum of jazz, and the faint trace of rain mixing with the warmth of wood in the air. She wore a long, beige dress with a light sweater over her shoulders. No makeup, no perfume. Just herself, simple, calm, and real. At the far corner of the cafe, Mai was already there. A tight black dress, hair loose, lips the color of wine, beautiful, cold, and deliberate. Her eyes were fixed on the door, like she had been waiting for a while. When Tuna approached, Mai smiled. It was a gentle smile, but her gaze carried something unspoken, part pity, part disdain. You came. I thought you might not have the courage. Tuna sat down, placing her bag quietly beside her. You wanted to meet, so I'm here. Say what you need to say. Mai leaned her chin on her hand, fingers tapping lightly against the cup. Her voice was smooth as velvet, but sharp enough to cut. I'll get straight to the point. I know you love Alex, and I know he's serious about you. But maybe you don't really understand his world. Tuna stayed silent, her eyes steady. Mai went on, each word deliberate, landing like a small blow. He's the heir to the Leighton Group. A man like him has to choose business, not love. And you, an ordinary woman with a child that isn't his. Do you really think you belong by his side? Tuna's hands tightened, her nails pressing into her palms until they turned white. But her voice stayed calm. You don't have to remind me who I am. I know. And I know who he is too. Mai let out a short, cold laugh. Do you? Do you know that one word from his mother could take everything from you? Your job, your reputation, even that little house you call home. But I can help you. Avoid that. He reached into her bag, pulled out a white envelope, and slid it across the table. There's enough in here for you and your baby to live comfortably anywhere you want. You won't have to face anyone's judgment. You won't have to be someone's shadow. Just walk away from Alex. Tuna stared at the envelope as if it carried something poisonous. A dull ache spread through her chest, not because of the money, but because of the insult wrapped inside it. She slowly lifted her gaze. "You think I can sell my love for money?" Mai didn't answer right away. She shrugged her smile, fading into something emptier. "Love, I used to believe in that, until he chose you instead of me." Her voice wavered slightly, eyes shifting toward the window as if to hide a tremor. "I couldn't stand being replaced, Tuna. Do you understand that I was there for him when everything fell apart? But in the end, the only person he remembered was you." Tuna said nothing. In that quiet moment, she saw it. Beneath Mai's pride and cruelty was just another woman struggling with a wound that refused to heal. But sympathy quickly gave way to resolve. "If you truly loved him, you wouldn't try to hurt the people he cares about," Tuna said softly, but with a strength that cut through the air. "You say you were by his side, but maybe you never really understood what he needed." Her tone gentled, but her words carried weight. "Alex needs someone who believes in him, not someone who uses the past to hold him down. I have nothing to bargain with Mai. All I have is love in this child, and that's enough for me to stand my ground." The cafe fell silent. Mai froze. The icy look in her eyes dimmed, replaced by a hollow emptiness. She gripped her cup tightly, then gave a quiet, bitter laugh. "You're stronger than I thought. But you'll pay for this, Tuna. You have no idea what they're capable of." Tuna stood gently, placing the envelope back on the table. "Maybe, but at least I won't live my life drowning in hate like you." She turned and walked away. Mai stayed, seated, staring after her at that small, determined figure leaving the cafe. Outside, the rain had stopped. The streets glistened under the weak afternoon light, like shards of glass scattered on the pavement. Tuna took a deep breath, her hand resting lightly on her stomach, where her baby slept safely at home. She knew the storm wasn't over, but she wasn't afraid anymore. For love, for Henry, for her own pride, she had chosen to move forward, even if the path ahead led straight into an unnamed storm. The sun dipped slowly behind the hills, spilling a honey-colored light across the fields. The air carried the rich scent of wet earth, warm, heavy, and filled with a quiet peace that somehow felt distant. Alex's car came to a stop at the gate of the farm. He stepped out, shoes caked with fresh mud eyes, scanning the place, quietly searching. No one. No laughter. No familiar sight of Tuna watering the garden or rocking their baby on the porch. Only the wind brushing through the trees, whispering like a voice of worry. He sat down at the wooden table outside. The chair across from him was empty, the tea beside it slowly going cold. He exhaled, fingers tightening around the cup as his gaze lingered on the dirt road leading to the house. Since what happened with Mai A, quiet fear had lived inside him, the fear that Tuna might face something alone and never tell him. When the sky began to fade into violet, the small gate creaked open. Tuna walked in. Her light coat was damp with evening mist, and a few loose strands of hair clung to her face. She looked tired, but there was a calm strength in her eyes, steady, unshaken. Alex stood up, almost instinctively. "Tuna, where have you been? I've been looking for you all day." She stopped, offering a faint, weary smile. "I went to see her." Alex froze, taking a step closer, his voice a mix of shock and worry. You weren't afraid. She could have done something no one would even know. Tuna shook her head gently. Her gaze drifted toward the field, where the sunset brushed the tops of the grass before turning back to him, her eyes soft but resolute. I can't keep running, Alex. I had to face her. Not just for me, but for you. And for our child. Her voice was calm, but every word landed deep in his chest. I won't let her win. Not with anger, but with faith. She may have power money, but I have something she's already lost: honesty. Alex stood still, speechless for a long moment. Then he stepped forward, placing a trembling hand on her shoulder, as if afraid she might slip away. I'm sorry. I couldn't stop her. I never wanted you to go through this, not again. Tuna smiled softly, shaking her head. It's okay, Alex. If I'm not strong, how can I protect what I love? She lifted her face, the fading sunlight catching in her dark brown eyes. And in that moment, Alex realized the woman standing before him wasn't the fragile girl she once was. She was a mother, a lover, someone who would stand in the storm to protect the small world they had built together. He pulled her into his arms. His breath trembled against her hair, raw and honest. I just need you safe. I can lose everything else, but not you. Tuna closed her eyes, resting her head against his chest. Outside, the wind moved gently through the trees, carrying the scent of wet grass and the distant call of evening birds. In his arms, she could hear his heartbeat, strong, warm, real, and it made her want to cry. Under the purple glow of dusk, they stood quietly together on the peaceful farm. No promises, no explanations, just love tested, proven and made stronger by the courage they had both found. And somewhere inside the little house, Henry's soft cry rose pure and clear like a small bell, calling peace back home after the storm.
Trước để đã ngỏ lời khuyên Huyền và Mea trở về quê sống cùng gia đình anh. Rất hy vọng ngày hôm nay Huyền sẽ nói chuyện tiếp với cha